completed, the employee shall receive their normal compensation based on their average hours worked per week. Uh, Basically, they'll receive their normal pay until they are able, healthy to come back to work. This will ideally ensure that our employees are continue to um, have a way to sustain their lives during this time, and hopefully this won't be an issue where employees are getting sick, but at least we'll be prepared and trying to be proactive in this situation. Also in this draft, the council president can potentially allow an employee to work from home if they're able. I don't know if we have any employees who are able to do that. It's kind of one of the issues of running a municipality. It's sometimes we have employees who are all essential. In this draft also it says employee leave will be determined by the council president or his designee. And basically, really, the employee will not be allowed to return to work until they're determined that they do not present a health risk of the underlying condition to the public or to any other employees of the town. The goal is to, if we do have individuals who are exposed to it and start to exhibit symptoms, that they're not going to be coming into work and exposing others. So hopefully this will be a way where we can mitigate the risk to our employees by also having kind of a plan in place for how to handle these. Now, last night or this morning I received an email from Mr. Bennington in this draft, and the reason I did it this way was I just basically gave the council president the authority to make a decision as to whether or not the employee should stay home. And the reason I did it that way was not to exclude the council from this process. It was really just to ensure that this is done timely. Trying to coordinate with 5 people can be kind of a challenge. And so if we can do this as succinctly and quickly as possible, I think it would probably be better for all of the parties involved. That was the only reason I did that. Mr. Bennington would prefer that the council as an entity make that decision for the individual employee should it come up. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I think you guys can kind of talk about it and decide which one you think is best, but the one that I drafted from the beginning was that just the president would have that authority. But again, you guys can decide on how you'd like, and if you'd prefer it, the council make that decision. I can amend this to add that language in there. So actually I brought copies of what it would look like if it was amended, so we could just go ahead and adopt it. It says the town council as an entity may authorize the employee as opposed to just the council president. So I wanted to try to get that all in place so that you would have that, so we wouldn't have to come back and try to decide this later down the road. I don't know if you'd want to have any discussion as to that portion of the virus ordinance.
What were your thoughts, Gary, since you sent
I feel that in the past, there's been lots of things that I feel is going on that the council hadn't really been aware of. And I think if we all sign or all agree on something, then everybody knows what's going on. And the president doesn't have any more power than we do. So I don't think that he should be the one to put himself out there on them. And I think it should be the council. Anything that needs to be signed, I think it should be signed by the council.
Yeah, and that's okay. Again, I just used I've been working with AIM, and they've provided lots of examples of items that other municipalities have used, and there was a common theme. I think because of the nature of this virus and
I have some examples, I don't know, I have them here somewhere, but
Sure.
two ordinances were signed back to back. One was the whole council signed, the other just the president signed.
Uh-huh.
Now, why that happened, I don't know. It was an ordinance, two different ordinances. And,
I'm not sure.
Somebody being sick. Yeah.
Well, I would maybe rule it, I mean, God forbid something happened with Larry and he's unavailable,
Right.
then we're kinda stuck to Larry has to sign it. So I agree with Gary that it should be more than one signature.
Okay.
I mean, maybe a majority of the signatures, something to that effect, that there is a backup to Larry, because with this going around, who knows, Larry could go out sick and be
Sure.
unavailable, and then we're kinda stuck with the ordinance as is.
Right.
So I think we should have a backup plan, or at least more than one signature
if
required.
there's four here, four signed. If there's three here, three signed.
Okay.
Five here, five signed. On anything.
I will follow your lead. So if you prefer to have that, where it's more broad and gives the council discretion,
And I would again go with, maybe not in its entirety, because even tonight, we don't have the entire council, so we
Right.
wanna be majority,
majority of council.
rather than the entire council or just Larry. If we can only get a hold of 3 people,
Mhm.
I think we need to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I'll go along with the majority.
I think majority is the fair.
Whoever's at the
Okay.
If
meeting.
you can get a hold of 3 people and you
Well-
got,
Get a hold of.
yeah, if you can get a hold of 3 people and you get a yes, then it's a yes. If you can't get a hold of, a couple of people, then we go ahead and move forward.
Okay. Would you want to preliminarily, go ahead and approve this? I'll amend the language to include that, and we can look at the next one.
I'll motion for that.
I'll second.
And, just so you guys know, we'd have to have we'll have to have a waiver of the second. We'll have to do this twice because it's an ordinance. If we're gonna pass it really quickly, we have to have 2 votes. First would have to be approved by all of you together, and then the second would have to be approved by majority, so. But ultimately, we would have to have 2 votes and waive that second reading of the ordinance. Kind of a little bit more burdensome, but it speeds up the process.
Okay, we have motion
So
and
I'll
a
motion,
second.
I've motioned, and I think Gary is second.
Correct. Yeas? Yay?
Yay.
Yeah.
No nays?
Okay, can we do the second vote on that?
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
I will get that language changed, thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure. The second thing that we've talked about was closing down the park during this time. The way I have it drafted right now, it says beginning March 25th, the council, or the Cloverdale Town Park shall be closed until May 12th. That's the date of our meeting in May. Hopefully by the time this rolls around, we'll be able to reopen the park, but again, I think it's probably in the town's best interest to close that park down to ensure that there's not anything being spread from person to person. In addition, there is just a general notice in this resolution that the town hall will be closed to the public until May 1st. All sewer water payments will be closed, paid by depositing payment in the front entrance of the deposit slot, or deposit box outside, so. I'd like to, if I could if you guys are okay with that, if I could get the 2 votes again on that.
My question, do we wanna put a May 1st deadline, or do we wanna leave it kind of open-ended? Because we don't know how long this is gonna go, or what kind of changes are going to occur.
Right.
And
Until the emergency declared open?
until the emergency is over.
Right. If you'd like, I can include some language in there for that too.
Yeah, I don't think we wanna put a definite,
Kind of
date on
leave it a little
something,
bit more
because it's
broad.
all unknown at this point.
Okay. So I'll add in something like the town may further restrict access to the town hall if continuation of the
If
pandemic
necessary, yeah.
necessitates it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I can add that language in. If you wanna give me a vote on that, I'll get that done too, and we can then get signatures.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all yay? Yay?
Gotta get the-
No nays? And, okay, can we get a second vote?
A motion for the second?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. And then finally, this is coming down from the governor, and things are always changing, of course, with this pandemic, but, basically, the governor, as part of the response plan for the state, has limited, municipal utility providers, basically the town, which I don't think we'd wanna do this anyways, but I just wanna make sure it's all been passed and we've done this through the appropriate means. Basically, beginning March 25th, 2020, the town of Cloverdale shall suspend water and sewer shutoffs for non-payments or late payments. This suspension shall be in place until further review of council or declaration of the governor ending the emergency. This ordinance shall take effect upon its adoption. Again, none of this is anything that I think the town would want to have to deal with, but right now, essential utilities, water, sewer, those are extremely important for the public, and especially as we're gonna be required to stay at home, we don't want people to lack access to those services, so, if I could get two votes again on that, this just kind of, well, I guess ordains what the governor has already proclaimed for us.
How long are we waiving again till it's over? And then within what type of time frame, once it's over, do we wanna pursue with our disconnects? Because obviously, if it's lifted tomorrow, it's gonna take several weeks for people to get back online and you know. So
Right.
do we wanna give them a grace period to get paid up?
Can I make a suggestion for that? If they can't, to call, set
And
up a
make
payment
arrangements.
arrangement, cause that kinda coincides with the ordinance that's already set in. And I mean, cause we've already had a couple people calling to ask like, you know, is it gonna be disconnected? If so, till, I mean, they're already nipping at the bit for,
So give them like a 30-day grace period once the emergency's lifted to contact the town and make arrangements for payment.
Does the office ever contact the customer?
no.
Okay.
No, there's over 1,000 customers on the system, like with names and numbers. There's no way.
Yeah, we don't
Well,
wanna
I
make
meant-
it,
I meant someone who hasn't paid.
Oh, no, we did the knockers
just
for a while.
get a disconnect and it's off.
Yeah,
So we don't wanna make it so that the day this epidemic is done, we go out the next day and start disconnecting. We wanna give them a grace period to make arrangements, to make payments and catch up.
Certainly. Okay. I can definitely add that language in there.
Okay, do I have a motion with those changes?
All motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay? Any nays? Okay,
You need to do a second vote.
Yeah, can I get the second too?
okay, do I have a motion for second vote?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Yay?
Aye, yay.
okay, so just for clarification for the people that are watching this, disconnects have been suspended until,
So that will be until, basically until further review of the council or the declaration of the governor ending the emergency,
okay,
which we're not real sure when that's gonna be. In addition, it does say that, you know, it is important to note that this is not the town waiving payment of those services. This is just basically the town saying we're not going to take any kind of punitive measures for non-payment at this point. That doesn't mean
And
won't
we
in the
are
future.
waiving late fees and those type of fees during this period?
Are those being assessed, late fees are?
that's something that we do.
Built in the system.
Yeah. Same thing with like disconnect letters to go out, you don't want those to go out at all?
I don't think so at this point.
So we'll wanna add some language for that too. So actually, could we do another vote on that with that additional language? And the reason I'm being so cautious with all this is because this is normally a public meeting just for the folks at home. Normally we have meetings and we invite the public in, and that's extremely important. Under the circumstances, it's probably best to limit crowd participation at that point. At this point, that's why we're streaming this and making it available via online providers like Facebook and YouTube. If there are questions that the community would like to pose to the council, they can write those to, they can bring those in, deposit those in the deposit slip, and we can get responses for those. But really, because of the, or call us, call the town hall, that's totally appropriate as well. So that's why we're kind of doing this, and we're being extra cautious with how we go through this. I just want to make sure that we do approve this the way it needs to be. So if I could get another vote on that
Okay,
ordinance.
made some amendments. Do I have
Just what were they again?
And that was just that the town was gonna waive
To
all
waive late
late fees,
fees and,
Okay.
and will not be sending disconnect letters to people.
I'll motion.
do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get,
Any noes?
can I do a second vote on that one more time?
Okay. Second vote, I need a motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. And then the final thing was, Cheryl had sent an email about adjusting the, at our last town council meeting, there was a conversation the council had about, officer app and getting a pay bump. And additionally, there was some conversation about structuring the salaries of the police department in a way so that it would reflect, and actually, Marshall, it might be better if you just explain how you wanted to structure that, just.
Well, essentially, the last one, all really wants to get Levi his pay rate. Get pay up there where he's, which I think is 40,000 plus 25 cents an hour shift differential, which will take him to 40,520. And then I propose that we go back and take a look and try to build a matrix and take a holistic look once we know, and got a good salary to see what we got to work with. Before we just patch something together.
So I know the council had approved giving Levi that pay bump. So I sent out actually I'm trying to find a copy of it, an amendment to our last salary ordinance, which is 2020-02. In that, basically the town marshal's, thank you, salary stays the same at 60,000. The deputy sergeant, or the police sergeant, I believe his salary went up just slightly, to reflect, just a marginal change. The deputy marshal, which is Levi, his salary went up to 41,520, and that reflects the raise in addition to the shift differential. Rick's salary would stay the same at 20,000, and the SRO officer, I believe his salary went up just slightly, maybe $1,000 or $1,500. The way this is drafted too, it does have the annual uniform allowance, because there was conversation about that for the officers. And then there was a conversation about newly hired police officers being given a one-time $2,000 uniform allotment for the purchase of uniforms and other necessary items. So I tried to get all that information in there for the, just because that's what we talked about at our last council meeting. I wanted to make sure that made its way into the amended salary ordinance. Thank you, Larry.
And I think what Steve's asking for is we take out that, uniform allowances for the time being, till he can provide us with the matrix as to, kinda goes with his plan.
On that, the first payment wouldn't be, we're talking about in June, so we've got a few months, let's get through this emergency we've got right now, and then let's try to see what a holistic plan would look like.
So I think as is without the, uniform allowances.
Okay, so, what I can do is I can remove that language from that, and then, you guys would wanna go ahead and approve it based on the removal of that language. I can get that done, and then we can get signatures.
Okay, do I have a motion?
All motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Question, was I thought the new employees bought their uniforms instead of us giving them $2,000 for uniforms.
Yeah, that's what we said, we're gonna work on that, that's why I wanna go back and revisit that, instead of, let's just leave the uniform stuff out of this right
We're
now.
taking uniforms out of this ordinance for now, completely.
Yeah, so I'm gonna remove all that language out of there.
Okay.
I know we had talked about it, but I wasn't sure kind of if the council had had resolved, what the council wanted to do with that just yet, so. So I'll get that language approved and then, or get it removed and then get the revised to, all of you to sign.
Do we need to vote on that?
I think, yes, I'm sorry, I think everybody just,
I had a question about it, so.
yes, if we could just get a
Okay.
vote on that.
Vote again. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I don't have anything else.
Daniel, I had an alibi on the COVID. One of the things I passed around is an updated SOP. It's actually CPD 020.1. And it actually, what it does, it authorizes our guys, we have 2 patrol rifles right now, and we're short 2. So, we've had, the officers are able to bring their own personal, of a certain caliber, and there's certain things they have to make to be able to carry them. But right now, we're seeing a lot of increase in gun sales, ammo sales, things of that nature, and we have a lot of people from Indianapolis have been coming out here to the stores and such. We've already had one fight in Value Market over meat and such, and we're just trying to make sure that they have got suitable protection to do their job. And so this just kind of updates and makes it more relevant right now. So
You need a
that's,
copy of that for my records.
yeah, I passed one, you have, send that one all the way around there.
Got a road on it, I'll get you the.
That's all right, you have that one there.
I'll put this
And the other thing is, from the law enforcement perspective, I know I forwarded you guys some of the emails and stuff I'm getting from Superintendent Carter. We're trying to get over all law enforcement's on the same page out there, especially as far as enforcement on things. We're kind of holding, and we're gonna fall in line with what the state police is recommending to be done, so I'm making sure my officers understand. They're given alibis on like expired license plates, expired driver's license, and even handgun permits during this time period. I think they're pushing off, I think it's to like the 22nd of May, to give people, if those things expired during that time period. And I think they're not gonna, I don't think there's gonna be late fees or any of that kind of stuff assessed. They're actually just pushing everything back on that. So we're in that same vein, it's how we're gonna enforce it. Doesn't mean we can't still stop people for those things. If we see criminal things happen, we have taken a little bit more officer discretion on who we do take to jail, trying to long form more things, but people out there taking advantage of the situation, that's not going to work good down the road in court. The other side of it is, as of midnight tonight on the travel thing, it's very confusing. We've had a lot of calls, people talking about who's essential, who's not. You can look in the governor's proclamation, who they identify as essential. As far as us, we're not gonna be just stopping cars on the road. We still have to have probable cause or reasonable suspicion to stop a car. And if we find people that are out there who aren't essential and they're out driving around doing whatever they may be doing, it is Class B misdemeanor. Once again, they'll be mostly cited. So we're trying to have a holistic approach that works in concert with what the other law enforcement agencies are doing. We're in that very proactive, but yet self-isolating mode, so we are going to all the business owners around. They're finding red tags on their doors where we're doing the night checks. The guys are doing a tremendous amount of night checks at the businesses. So we've identified, I think, several high-value businesses, the food, ammunition, drugs, that kind of thing, that they're really following up on that. We're also posting stuff on our Facebook page showing the updated numbers and things as they come out, any instructions, done a lot of stuff on personal distancing, trying to encourage and get information out to the public. I've got a lot of very favorable responses back on that.
And I believe you have 24-hour coverage now too. You have 24-hour coverage now.
Yeah, we've done, the reserves have done a wonderful job stepping up the plate and putting in more time. James, since the school's closed, he's out and actually covering the other midnight shift. So we've gotten into a pretty good posture on the back with 24-hour coverage, so. That's all I have.
I don't have anything further.
Anything else? Call this meeting adjourned.